Welcome, David and Heidi. Thanks for stopping by. Take it away.
Well, thank you for having us again on this day.
And thank you everyone who's performed. Yeah, Stephen, we'd never heard that song. That's a great song. And yeah, you know, I often wish I were Canadian. All right, so this is a song I wrote for the opening of a community garden. By the way, I have a new look for you guys. It's like a 60s thing. I bought a wig during COVID. I don't know. I've never worn it, so I'm wearing it tonight. Just putting it out there so I can stop feeling self-conscious. Anyway, this is a song for the seasons. Kind of a gardening song, kind of a Thanksgiving song. Okay.
Not too fast.
Go ahead and start. Receive the gifts that are your share today. See clear through judgment's overclouded gaze. Where poppies bloomed and thistles once did grow, we come together now to celebrate. Dark winter thoughts of love we've lost fade away in spring, and summer comes again, and summer comes again. The rose she blooms in a rocky crowd with swallowtail nearby. The crow he watches us from on the wire. The wasp has left his paper nest, gone to now is the steam of angry things we said but did not mean. We've learned to catch the summer sun, the rain when it pours down, to use the things so freely given us. And summer comes again, and summer comes again. Honeybees will soon fly by and signal with their sound the coming of short days and dark. Fallen leaves feed hungry soil, will harvest one last time, then gather up the garden rake and fork. Sparrows plant the frozen earth in winter's harshest time. The Yuletide cups will sing our winter songs. And summer comes again, and summer comes again. Receive the gifts that are your share today. See clear through judgment's overclouded gaze. Where poppies bloomed and thistles once did grow, together now to celebrate. We reap from seeds others sown, new dreams are built upon the stones they've laid. We reap from seeds others sown, new dreams are built upon the stones they've laid.
Sounding good, you guys. Heidi, you look great.
So, I was very uninspired. I have been, but I thought, don't let that stop you. So I wrote a love song. It's called Love Cliche, and you'll see why.
One, two, one, two.
not the kind to sing love songs or whisper in my ear, but somehow you always let me know how much you care. I wouldn't trade you for all the tea and china. I'm all yours, you're all mine. Good times we had a few, hard times we had those too. That's what you get for a living, the price you have to pay. Wouldn't have it any other way. You're the feather in my cap, top and the ace in the hole, glint in my eye, cherry on my Sunday, the cure for my blue Mondays. You're my four-leaf clover, you're my lucky star. Not the kind to serenade or shower me with flowers, but happily together we can while away the hours. So if you care for me, don't change a hair for me. I love you just the way you are. Good times we had a few, hard times we had those too. That's what you get for a living, the price you have to pay. Wouldn't have it any other way. 'Cause you're the bee's knees, cat pajamas, apple of my eye, spring in my step, the beat I'm always drumming, the tune I'm always humming. A whole lot more and all that, a whole lot more and all that.
Got a lot of appreciation for that one.
You need to write it.
Somehow I knew Stu would like that one.
Well, as we were saying when we first checked on in, we just got back from a vacation down to California, and that was kind of the scene of my misspent youth. And in fact, I had a new book all about it called "A la recherche du temps perdu," or "Get Off My Lawn." And anyhow, I was going to read a couple little things, from that era. This poem is called "Random San Francisco Memory." Summer of 1982, I think, the San Francisco Public Library was sponsoring some sort of poetry contest. So I took a quart of Old English 800 to the Panhandle, a block from my flat on Clayton, and wrote "Ode to Bullwinkle" on the brown paper bag. This is great, and I am a great, great poet, I thought when I had finished. And immediately thereafter, a cop gave me a ticket for public drinking. I also didn't win the contest. All right, after that setup, I'm going to read "Ode to Bullwinkle," my masterpiece of my San Francisco era. Ode to Bullwinkle. The eyes of a 3-year-old are burned, the method by which we tykes become learned. Who would have thought the secrets of our world be taught by a moose and a spunky squirrel? O sterling seed, hey antler breath, your praises we sing nigh, but to your rabid rodent friend may he fly in a Cuisinart and die. What do we know of Cold War dear, but from a couple of cartoon spies? One was short with a mustache, the other had marvelous thighs. Imperialist, fascist, bastard squirrel, I spit on you, patooey, for I am a political dilettante and live on beans and ratatouille. All right. Some would say I never got any better than that, but I like to flash forward nearly 40 years in the future and do a plug. We've got a poetry pal up in New Westminster by the name of Warren Dean Fulton. For a long time, he ran a reading series called Poetic Justice, which happened at the Heritage Grill there. Heidi and I have played there one or two times, which the Heritage Grill burned to the ground 6 months ago in that huge Westminster fire by the pier. But Warren, his COVID project was to start a little magazine, and so he started this thing called Pocket Lint, which features extremely short poems. But Warren knows a lot of poets, so a lot of, they're short poems, but there's a lot of them. And they actually sell this down at the People's Co-op bookstore down on Commercial Street. He's put out 2 issues so far, and he's putting out a 3rd issue next month. And I'm going to be in the 3rd issue, which is very exciting for me because Warren Warren knows everybody. He's like the poetry fanboy of the ages, and he's got like George Bowering and Bill Bissett, contributing to the issue that I'm in. I think they've done previous issues too, but so we're excited. We got to meet Bill Bissett a couple of years back when he was doing a reading up in Vancouver. Anyhow, I thought I'd read my little poems I'm gonna have in the new pocket lint. And these were actually written 20 years ago when I was living at the Tacoma Catholic Worker, which is incidentally where I met Heidi. Anyhow, this one's called Actual Dinner Time Conversation at the Monastery. Ear hair is nature's way of telling you, if you're not a rock star yet, you probably won't be one. Okay, that's one pocket lint poem. Another one is called Tuesday Night Community Dinner Haiku. Harlan gets crockpot. Seagulls crash in house windows. The stew drives them mad. And, thank you. And this last one, there's actually a book out called Japanese Death Poems. It's an anthology. And apparently when the great Japanese poets or monks died, they were supposed to like spout out some, incredibly insightful haiku right before they croaked. And so this is mine. This is called Zen Poem for Moment of Death. Well, this sort of sucks. Okay, that's my last short poem.
Bravo.
And now for something a bit different, Heidi's going to read one tonight.
I actually, I don't write very many poems, but we were in Los Angeles and we went to a reading where there were a lot of Latino poets, and they wrote some really tender poems about their mothers and their grandmothers, and then I was wanting to be Latina. And the next day I heard my first Christmas carols of the season piped in over the Venice boardwalk, and I thought about my own grandmother, and I wrote this. She was not my abuela, she was my grandmother, but somehow that word doesn't convey the same openness and generosity as the Spanish word abuela. She wore red keds with her house dress, and she had her hair permed. She'd put Band-Aids over the place where her nose had been. Cancer had eaten away the cartilage, and you could see down into her nasal cavities, the raw skin around them purple, red, and tender. She lived on Anison, buttered toast, and black coffee. Sometimes she would sit down at her old piano and play The Yellow Rose of Texas, The Old Gray Mare, Basin Street Blues, and of course Christmas carols. That was her catalog, and we were her band. I would blow in and out on a harmonica, my sister would slap the bongos, and when he was old enough, my little brother would shake the maracas. A recording of those sessions would probably have killed the memory, but we didn't do that back then. My favorite Christmas carol was The First Noel. Laurie's was We Three Kings, and Richard's was, of course, Jingle Bells. And Grandma would play them with us all year long.
Beautiful poem.
You're aging
Okay, this is a Dar Williams song called You're Aging Well. And I first heard it some years ago, and I thought, wow, that's a pretty song, but she was interviewed on NPR, I don't know, a month or so back, and she talked about writing this when she was like 25 and her boyfriend had left her for a 20-year-old, which just struck me as, anyway, quite the song for a 25-year-old to write. And I think it's a beautiful song. I just hope I don't screw it up. Why is it that as we grow older and stronger, the road signs point us adrift, make us afraid, saying you never can win? Watch your back, where's your husband? I don't like the signs the sign makers made. So I'm gonna steal out with my paint and my brushes. I'll change the direction, I'll hit every street. It's the tinsel town scandal that Robin Hood found. She goes out and steals the king's English, and in the morning you wake up and the signs point to you. They say, I'm so glad you finally made it here. You thought nobody cared, but I did, I could tell. And this is your year, and it always starts here. And you're aging well. Well, I know a woman with a collection of sticks. She could fight back the hundreds of voices she heard. She could poke at the greed, she could fend off her need, and with anger she found she could pound every word. But one voice got through, caught her up by surprise. It said, don't hold us back, we're the story you tell. No sooner than spoken, the spelling was broken, and the voices before her were trumpets and timpani, violin voices, woodwinds and cellos singing. We're so glad you finally made it here. We thought nobody cared, but we did, we could tell. How you dance through the days while the orchestra plays, and you're aging well. When I was 15, I knew it was over. The road to enchantment was not mine to take, 'cause lower calf, upper arm should be half what they are. I was breaking the rules the sign makers made, and all I could eat was the poisonous apple. And that's not a story, I was meant to survive. I was all out of choices, but the woman of voices turned round the corner with music around, gave me the language that keeps me alive. She said, I'm so glad you finally made it here, with things you know now that only time could tell. Looking back, seen far, landing right where you are. And you're aging, and I'm aging, aren't we aging well?
Oh, that was great.
Beautiful. After you guys, I think we're at encore time.
Okay.
Encore.
All right. Well, so we'll go from the sublime to the ridiculous then. But this could be a sing-along. It's an old Johnny Rivers song. So here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. Standing on the mountain looking down on the city, way I feel it is a doggone pity. Teardrops falling down a mountainside. Many times I've been here, many times I cried. We used to be so happy when we were in love, high on a mountain of love. Night after night I'm a standing here alone, weeping my heart out to the cold gray dawn, praying that you're lonely and you come here too. Hoping just by chance that I get a glimpse of you, trying hard to find you somewhere up above, high on the mountain of love.
Mountain of love, mountain of love, you should be ashamed. We used to be a mountain of love, you just changed your name.
Way down below there's a 500,000 people, somewhere there's a church with a big tall steeple. Inside a church there is an altar filled with flowers, wedding bells are ringing and they should have been the hours. That's why I'm so lonely, my dreams gone above, high on the mountain of love.
Mountain of love, mountain of love, you should be ashamed. We used to be a mountain of love, you just changed your name.
Way down below there's a 500,000 people, somewhere there's a church with a big and tall steeple. Inside a church there is an altar filled with flowers, wedding bells are ringing and they should have been ours. That's why I'm so lonely, my dreams gone above, high on the mountain of love. That's why I'm so lonely, dreams gone above, high on the mountain of love. Okay.
Rock on.
Good stuff, you guys. Thanks so much. And y'all come back and visit a bit more often, eh? And,